Hi everyone, this is Balazs from RacingBrick. Better late than never. After my quite popular preview of the LEGO Icons road bike, I finally got the set in hand and now it is time to build it. I was really looking forward to this release, mainly because of the new parts and technical solutions, but also because after many years away from cycling I picked it up again recently. Although these days I ride on 3 wheels instead of 2, it's much more comfortable and much more fun if you ask me. The box is quite large but fairly thin, featuring the usual minimalist 18 plus design. In this case, it actually suits the subject rather well. The back shows some of the functions and dimensions, but enough talking, let's open it up. It has 1015 pieces, the price is €120 or $130, and it is already available. Inside we find 8 numbered bags, 2 gigantic tires, and an envelope containing the instructions. No sticker sheet this time, but that's not a big surprise. The manual also includes some background information. Nothing particularly groundbreaking, but it's still unusual considering this isn't a licensed collaboration that's becoming quite rare in the Icons lineup these days. Let's start building. The build begins with the display stand and its locking mechanism. It quickly grows wheels of its own, although they don't actually roll because they are mounted with friction pins. Their job is simply to provide grip and stability. Moving on to back 2, we encounter the first batch of new parts. These rim segments are probably the most eye-catching ones. They feature a half-module pinhole in the center, a pin and axle connection on one side, and dual axle connections on the other. The alternating connection pattern is important during assembly and helps align everything correctly. I'll get back to the versatility of these pieces, but they can be assembled in this way too, although I'm not entirely sure what practical purpose that would serve. Once both halves are complete, they can be pressed together. The connection is reasonably solid, but don't expect miracles. The segments still flex quite a bit and the wheel can be separated again without too much effort. Here's the finished rim. For comparison, here's the standard motorcycle wheel, here's the large wheel used on the 1/5 scale Technic motorcycles, and finally the new bike tire. This is officially the largest tire LEGO has ever produced. The rubber compound feels very similar to other LEGO bike tires, although this one is significantly thinner. It is not very flexible, but the installation is surprisingly easy because you don't need to stretch it over the rim as you would on a real bicycle. You can still use the brick separator to mimic the usual exercise though. The fit is generous, but once installed the tire won't rotate on the rim at all. The spokes are another interesting new element. They are 11 modules long, slightly angled at the ends and surprisingly flexible. Once attached to the hub they gain some tension, but the completed wheel still flexes quite a bit. It looks great, but I certainly wouldn't want to sit on it. Next comes perhaps the most interesting new element in the entire set. This new 22th gear incorporates a one-way clutch mechanism that allows the bike to freewheel. Turn it one way and it rotates freely. Turn it the other way and it locks. This is something we've never really had in Technic before, and I can't wait to see what builders do with it. It must be mounted this way though. Time to unlock the stand and place the wheel on it. The frame starts taking shape around the rear wheel. Most of the construction happens sideways, supported by Technic elements hidden beneath the surface. This assembly represents the brake caliper, and it is now time to mount it on the wheel hub. Ball joints and clips will also be used to achieve the required geometry. We have a combination of studded and studless Technic parts again as the core, which will be covered later, and you can also see these rods that will play an important role. Many connections will rely on these rods, the rounded plates with hollow studs, half pins, and other parts with the rod end. The seat is another interesting subassembly. The minifigure hockey sticks work perfectly as the rails underneath, although the finished saddle looks about as comfortable as I imagine it actually would be. Yet another reminder why I ride a recumbent trike. Rods and pinholes all around, along with some different Technic elements. This one is a different thinner core with these alternating pieces. The bike really starts to take shape. Here's another geometry that relies on the rounded pieces, which also set the angle. This here is quite an unusual pattern. The front fork is mounted next. The headset design is somewhat unconventional, although it does resemble certain real-world bicycles. Steering range is fairly limited, but honestly the thing that bothers me most is this little 1x1 gap right here. Eventually we arrive at the drivetrain. This introduces the final new element of the set, the massive 64-tooth gear. Compared to the classic 40-tooth gear, it's absolutely enormous. This goes here, and the other pedal goes on the other side. The front wheel follows shortly after, together with the front brake caliper. At the rear we get a derailleur-like structure. It looks convincing enough, although it doesn't actually move. Considering the bike only has a single gear, that's perfectly understandable. Then comes the chain, all 72 links of it. It's molded in metallic silver and looks great. Installation can be slightly fiddly, but once everything is connected, the drivetrain works very smoothly. With the last bag, we build the handlebar. The Ninjago horn piece is a nice fit, and we also have moving brake levers. The rear light is added next, which LEGO strangely emphasizes as removable in the marketing material. And finally, we build the water bottle. The top section uses a recolored Technic gear shifter element that is a perfect fit, and yes, there is even a tiny amount of water represented inside. With that installed, the bike is complete. So here is the end result, and two things immediately stand out. First, from a distance it barely looks like a LEGO model. Second, it is absolutely huge. Here are the two motorcycle scales we have had in Technic in recent years. Even the 1/5 scale is dwarfed by the bike. The giant wheels certainly contribute to that impression, but it's still remarkable how substantial this model feels despite having only around 1,000 pieces. In fact, it's so large that I'm not even sure where most people are supposed to display it. Compared to the 1/8 scale Formula 1 cars, it almost feels like it deserves its own wall mount. It is a display piece, no doubt about that, although there are a few functions to demonstrate. Steering works, sort of, but the angle is very limited. The main highlight is of course the drivetrain. Pedaling works surprisingly well, especially on the stand, and thanks to the new clutch gear, the bike freewheels too. I do miss the characteristic clicking sound of a real free hub, but honestly that would probably become annoying very quickly if LEGO starts using this part elsewhere. The brake levers move, the rear light can be removed, and so can the water bottle. And that's pretty much the complete feature list. You can take the bike off the stand and roll it around if you want to. Here you can also see the steering radius in action, although I doubt many people will buy this set for play value. The frame does have a noticeable amount of flex. I certainly wouldn't put any weight on it, but it is rigid enough to pick it up and move around safely without worrying about it falling apart. The wheels are actually not the weak point here. Even with this spoke arrangement, they feel reasonably sturdy, but I still wouldn't trust them in any motorized build. I'm still a bit baffled by the drivetrain setup though. This is a single-speed bike, so the derailleur imitation at the front and especially at the rear isn't particularly accurate. The rear assembly is really closer to a chain tensioner, and because the bike freewheels, it isn't a fixie either. Adding even a simple 2-speed transmission with a functional derailleur would have increased the complexity dramatically, so I completely understand why LEGO didn't go that route. Still, it would have been very cool to see. Let's wait and see what the community comes up with. Speaking of modifications, I was genuinely surprised to see this set released without any branding. That probably gives it the broadest appeal possible, and I'm sure custom sticker manufacturers will appreciate it too, but for me the biggest advantage is customizability. The frame itself doesn't rely on many specialized elements. Apart from this piece here, which is already available in black, most builders should be able to experiment with different color schemes, geometry changes and custom details. I genuinely can't wait to see what appears on Replicable. Personally, I would have loved to see a mountain bike instead, as that's a bit closer to my interests. From that perspective, I still have doubts about the versatility of the new parts. This rim would not fit a mountain bike, nor would the tire, only the spokes can be reused. Highly specialized elements keep appearing in LEGO sets lately, and that's always a double-edged sword. They help achieve an excellent final look, but they also tend to reduce long-term versatility. Anyway, let's wait and see what the future holds. Until then, we have this bike here for €120 or $130. If you spend money on your bike, this amount would probably easily fit within that budget, and this build clearly targets a new segment of adult builders who have only had very simple city sets so far. There is a new mountain bike set in the city range by the way, but if you are looking for a detailed display model, this is clearly the only offer. Overall, I like the end result. There are some genuinely clever building techniques, some very interesting new parts, and a lot of potential for modifications. It certainly won't appeal to everyone, but if you are into cycling and enjoy unusual LEGO geometries and building techniques, then I don't think you will be disappointed. Let me know what you think about the set, the building solutions, the new parts and the end result. Let's talk about it in the comment section. If you enjoyed this video, then please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe with notifications, as more exciting LEGO videos are coming soon. See you next time, bye bye.